I am Sue Webley. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. I am Sue A. Webley. I'm your host, and I'm so excited that you are here. I see you coming in on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitch, all the places where we are. On Facebook, LinkedIn, all the places. I see you coming in. Do me a really good, big favor and share this broadcast this morning because I'm so excited to have our guest who's going to be here with us, Myah Ariel. And I'm excited to get to our conversation in a little bit. If you've just joined us for the very first time, you just stumbled upon this broadcast, you don't know what this is, what is it about. Again, I'm your host. I'm Sue A. Webley. I believe in the power of words, wisdom, and witness, and that's exactly what Inspire is all about. So on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, and depending on where you are, it might be 7 o'clock Pacific, or 8 o'clock, or 9 o'clock, at 9 o'clock in Chicago, in the Midwest, right? We host space for honest, soulful, and often transformative conversations with guests from all walks of life. So if you've been with me over the last couple of years, we talk to everybody: entrepreneurs, artists, thought leaders, organizers, and everyday people who are living boldly and authentically. And we explore all of the topics that matter, from mental health and identity to faith and business and justice and creativity and healing. And so whether we're spotlighting community leaders or celebrating personal triumphs, Inspire is rooted in the power of story and the belief that when we speak our truth, we light the way for others. I want to invite you to connect with us, to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. If you've been following me on Carol Solutions LLC for the last couple of years, thank you so much. We are still going strong. That's my company, so that's my baby. But we are expanding the Inspired with Sue W platform, and so I invite you to follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at Inspired with Sue W. If you desire to follow me personally, I am Sue A. Webley everywhere. You can't miss me. Or you can head over to our website at www.getinspired.live. There you can find out a little bit about the show, watch all of our previous episodes, and connect and subscribe to our newsletter, because we don't want you to miss anything that's happening with Inspire. So we invite you to do that. I want to give a shout out to those of you who, like me, have just finished a semester. Woohoo! Listen to me. I was so happy. I'm so happy. I put my final paper in. I did it on time yesterday evening, and so I'm feeling really tired and worn, but I am so happy that I finished out the semester and finished it well. So shout out to all of you who are in any type of school, who is coming to the end of your semester. We made it, y'all. We made it. And even if some of y'all needed an extension, you still made it. You still made it to the end. So shout out to all of you who are navigating school right now. Uh, thank you. Look, my sibling, she said, yes, hair. Yes, I got to try something. Got to try something a little different. Got to change it up for the one time. Okay. Yep. So, listen, next, last week I had I had a bob. What did I have a bob last week? It might be something else next week. I might go back to my baldy, in a couple of weeks. I don't know. I'm just trying out everything, and seeing what works for me. Just need a little change up. So thank you, my dear sibling, Rainier, Dr. Rainier Amin Shannon, who is one of my co-hosts for the Walking Heavy Show. And so if you haven't seen the Walking Heavy Show, I invite, we're going to be back on probably the first week in January. We are, unapologetic. We're unscripted. I was going to say we're unbothered, but usually we are bothered because we we talk about all the crap that's happening in the world and we don't hold back on anything. So be on the lookout for Walking Heavy to be back in January. All right, we are going to. I don't want to belabor. You know how to say in the church, don't belabor the time, because we have an amazing guest with us today, Myah Ariel, who is a U.S. Today best-selling novelist. And I'm so excited that she is here with us. I know some of you who are coming, it's like, you didn't ask what we're sipping on. I'm going to ask what you're sipping on when Myah comes, okay? When she comes back. So today's conversation blends two things this world is craving right now: love and imagination. 2025 has been a lot, y'all. It's been a lot. So globally, mental health challenges are rising. Stress is high. People are lonely. We're all trying to figure out what connection, tenderness, and joy look like when the world feels heavy. But this is where storytelling comes in. Stories soften us. Stories remind us of possibilities. Stories remind us that love, real, honest, human love still matters. And our guest today writes the kind of love that heals. Myah Ariel is a USA Today best-selling author whose romance novels feel like heartbeat movies, cinematic, soulful, tender, witty, and full of characters who love deeply and honestly. She's a Southern raised, New York sharp. And listen, shout out to, I'm not from y'all, but I was born and raised in New York. So shout out to my New Yorkers. A New York sharpened storyteller, a dreamer, a medical mom, and a woman committed to writing inclusive love stories where every reader can see themselves. We love that here in Inspire. She has a brand new book arriving in 2026. We're going to learn more about that when she comes on. But please join me in welcoming the brilliant, the hilarious, the deeply thoughtful Myah Ariel. Good morning, Myah.
Hi. Oh my, that was like the best intro I have ever received. Thank you.
Listen, we have to do it right here on Inspire. We have to do it right.
Really did. That was amazing.
Well, before we get into our conversation today, what are you sipping on this morning, Myah?
Well, since it is 7:15 a.m. in Los Angeles, where I live, I have my trusty ice cold water. I need to stay hydrated because your girl went to a show last night.
Oh, you so, hang it out.
I went to Blue Note, saw the Free Nationals. They were amazing. Had a great time. I'm hydrating today. So
okay, yeah. Now you have to do the vocals, because I'm sure you were loud.
Oh, yes, I was. Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us. Listen, I always have coffee in my cup. It is decaf because I love coffee, but caffeine don't love me. So it's decaf with my little almond creamer in it. And this is my cup for today. Well, okay, because I don't have my Inspire. Can you see that? Wait.
Oh, there we go.
You see the mouse and the cheese?
Yeah, that's cute. I love mugs. I love a nice big mug. You can get your hands on. So yeah.
Yeah. So a funny thing about I serve from Yard, right? And so we in Jamaica, we don't drink, we don't have those little tea things. Okay. It's a mug. And so so I grew up on tea, and then when I started drinking coffee and would go, and we would ask for, like, you go to the restaurant or whatever, they come bring in this little cup. What is this little cup?
No,
it needs to be an all-purpose mug. You're supposed to be able to eat cereal in it, drink coffee in it, drink
Yes.
tea, and I mean soup, everything. It has to be big enough to fit all of those things.
Yes,
So
I
yeah.
love the restaurants now. They have the mugs that are literally like bowls. You have to use both hands to pick it up to like drink
Mhm.
out of it. So that is my I love it.
Yeah, so big mugs are the thing, y'all. Hey, Instagram, if you see me waving this way, Instagram is over there in that corner. Do me a favor, let me know where you are watching from. Hey, Chuck Jones. Am I talking about my hair today? Hey, Chuck Jones. Welcome. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what's in your cup. If it's water, if it's tea, if it's orange juice, if it's a smoothie, if it's something stronger. I'm not judging you. Let me know what you're sipping on this morning. So, Myah, reading your bio and kind of going onto your website, your journey kind of started in film, right?
Yes.
But then you kind of found your voice in romance. So can you share with us what shifted for you and what made you say, I'm going to write love stories?
Yeah, so I ever since I was a little girl, I like you mentioned Southern raised, grew up in Arkansas, but had this sort of I was in love with movies, in love with watching the movies as a kid, and always wanted to grow up and work in the movies, mainly because I was just this hopeless romantic. I was born at the end of the 80s, raised all through the 90s. So, of course, that sort of renaissance of Black romance film, all of those movies were major inspiration for me. Of course, the 90s R&B music, the music videos, Midnight Love on BET, like all of that was that was all of my lore. A big inspiration for me was also A Different World. And so just growing up with all of these Black love romance couples kind of in my sort of worldview, I've always just, I think, been predisposed to love stories and finding the love story in whatever film or book or TV show. And so I did go to New York film school and study film, and just knew that my career was going to be as a producer. I was going to come out to Hollywood and I was going to make the movies that I had been inspired by my whole life. And if anyone has read my first book, this is sounding very familiar to you, because that is kind of the trajectory of the main character of Kalia when I think of you, my debut novel. And so the transition happened for me when I moved to LA and I started working in the industry, and everything that I thought was going to sort of fall into place for me after years trying just didn't. So many doors shut, so many no's. I lost count of the number of interviews just for assistant positions that I tried to get while I was a receptionist, while I was an office assistant, while I was reading scripts and working movie premieres and doing the award shows and kind of trying to get my foot in the door anywhere I could. There was just no opportunity for me to move up. And so I pivoted and went back to school and got a master's degree in arts journalism because I'd always loved writing. Never saw myself as a creative. I saw myself as a scholar because my undergraduate degree was in cinema studies. So I was writing about analysis of film, film theory, film history. And so I thought if I could get a degree in arts journalism, I could become a critic. But when I was in grad school, I took a writing course that really just opened up my love for writing at the sentence level, at the word level. And at that time, I still don't even think I was thinking I was going to be a creative, because it was still several years after that where I graduated, couldn't get a journalism job. Journalism jobs were drying up. And I just went back to work at that time, working in academia. And then the pandemic happened and I had my son, and I was reading romance so much during the pandemic. My son spent majority of the first year of his life in the hospital, and I was there with him. You mentioned I'm a medical mom, and I was kind of escaping into romance novels at the time. And that for me really was the tipping point where I said, you know what, my whole life I've been inspired by love stories. I think I have a story to tell. I love writing. I've never tried writing characters and dialogue and narratives and storylines. It's the pandemic. The world is shut down. What do I have to lose? let's give it a go. So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I believe we all have creativity on the inside of us, right? And sometimes things need to happen as a catalyst for that creative side of us
Yeah.
to break out. And
Yeah.
so that the pandemic, even though all of the things that all of the loss and
Yeah.
um that we experienced during the height of the pandemic, it also enabled many of us to kind of get into things that we probably would not have even thought about, right? I mentioned Cara Solutions earlier. That's how I started my company, Cara Solutions. So, and that's still going strong. Like I haven't looked back. I haven't gone back to corporate since starting that company. And basically, what we do is we help individuals like navigate the digital space with confidence. Um, so yeah, that those things like the pandemic, there's serve as catalysts to kind
Hmm.
of break open something inside of us. And since we are multifaceted, it's not a surprise that we would venture off, start one place and kind of move to another, right?
Absolutely.
Start in
Yeah.
one lane and then go over into another. And that's it was like, okay, don't mind me. We're just I'm just walking in purpose, right?
Yeah.
This was good. This lane was good for this part of my life, this time of my life. But now another lane has opened up. And so, let me kind of walk heavy in that. Right. And so we're
Yeah.
so grateful that you did, right? Because I believe that romance needed your pen. And you have two. Before we go, you have two books out right now, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that up on the screen. So, No Ordinary Love, and When I Think of You, and this is so exciting. Of course, I'm gonna post Maya's website so you could go ahead and explore. But we are also gonna hear an excerpt from one of those books in a little bit, and I'm excited to hear that, Maya. So you talk about inclusive love, and it's really important for us to see ourselves in media and the things that we read and the in places that we go. It's important for us to see ourselves. We have a very diverse inspired audience, right? And so to you, what does inclusive love stories mean to you, and why does representation matter in romance?
Yeah. So I'll start with the last part. So it's interesting. This has sort of been my, I would say, kind of project, this idea of representation and inclusion since grad school. My thesis was about the Hollywood diversity problem and why there was a financial imperative, not only just a moral, ethical, but a financial imperative for Hollywood to start putting more diversity on screen, because audiences want to see ourselves represented on screen. And the art that we create should reflect the world that we live in. And so that was the sort of the thesis of my thesis project. And so again, coming at it from the mindset of a journalist at that point. And then, like I mentioned, growing up the way that I did and seeing those stories, it felt like there was a certain timeline that those stories stopped. We stopped investing in those stories. We stopped seeing the Love Joneses and the Brown Sugars and the Love and Basketballs. We had Insecure for a while, but then after that, even, there was really nothing after Insecure was off HBO. There was really nothing that kind of came and took its place. And so there was sort of like a dearth of representation for Black love on screen, big and small. And so that hasn't been the case in romance novels, because we've got this booming indie, especially indie Black romance space. But in the traditional publishing industry, we have Black authors who are out there doing our thing, but in many instances, having challenges finding shelf space, finding our readers, like our readers finding us and marketing and whatnot. So I think it is so important for our work to be championed and our work to be invested in and invested in long term. So, and then for me, like what inclusion means everything. It means body diversity, it means racial diversity, it means showing people who have disabilities. That's why Miles Westbrook, in my second novel, the main male character in that novel, he has a speech impediment. And I felt that was important because, not to say that they don't exist in books, but I hadn't read a character with a speech impediment in a book before, a main character who is this like tall, gorgeous, talented athlete, but at the same time had a speech impediment. And my son was speech delayed, currently has a speech impediment. And I think part of becoming a mother to a child who has disabilities and has medical complexities, I was thinking about him and how when he grows up, I want him to see himself reflected on the pages of the books he reads and on the screens that he's looking at, because it's so important as a kid and as a young adult to see yourself. So yeah, those are some of the inspirations behind the stories that I like to tell.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I saw, I was perusing your social media, and I think, I don't know if it was a panel, but you talked about heteronormativity, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so, as a queer Black woman, and many of my audience, that queer, it's important that we also have like representation.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, do you have any, and of course this is not your responsibility, but since we're
Yeah.
talking about inclusion,
Yeah.
do any queer characters appear in any of your books?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I remember the panel you're talking about. I was at the Six Bridges Festival in Little Rock, which is where I'm from. But yeah, so like speaking about like this dominant culture that we've all been kind of like consuming, like raised to consume and accept is like, this is what it is when we live in the world, and we know that's very much not what it is. Like we all exist in different ways. And so in my second book, it was important for me to show the relationship between Ella, her manager, Angelo, and her stylist, Rodney. And they are a gay male couple, and they're also two of her very best friends. And to me, it's just like it's just reality, especially in the entertainment industry, but in every industry, that queer people exist and queer people are a part of the fabric of our lives. And so, and that's the other thing that this is just like a craft thing. But when I have secondary characters, I don't want them to feel flat and two-dimensional. I want them to feel that at any moment they could be living their own main character story. And if we just kind of tilted the perspective, we would be reading Rodney and Angelo's story.
Yeah.
And so there's this moment where Ella, like they're trying to hide, because basically she's their boss and they're all like working together, and they're trying to hide that they have started this, more than co-workers relationship. And she's like peeping things, and she's starting to see that something is happening with you guys. And she says, well, look, if this blows up, nobody's getting fired. So y'all got to figure out how this works. And so, and I think that having secondary characters, and also I think it's important for me to write from my own experience. And so I wouldn't write, I haven't to this point written primary characters who are queer, because I think it's important to write from my experience, but also it is my experience that I love and know queer people. And so why would I not include them in my stories as part of the world of these characters? And I feel like that just enriches the book and makes it feel more real when you have secondary characters who feel rich and multi-layered, and they are living their lives. They're not just here to prop up the two main people, but they have things going on in their lives as well. And so that was important to me to have in this in the second book.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. If you just joined us, we are in conversation with the amazing Myah Ariel, U.S. Today best-selling novelist, and she is the author. I know there's one coming out in 2026, so she's currently the author of No Ordinary Love and When I Think of You. And so now I'm going to ask if you would read an excerpt from one of those books. We're excited for you to share that. I'm going to put you on full screen, so don't be alarmed if you just see yourself pop up. I'm still here in the background, okay?
Okay. So this is my second novel, No Ordinary Love, and I will be reading an excerpt from chapter 5, which is the real sort of meet cute between our two main characters. And this chapter opens with a quote from one of my faves. If anyone follows me, you know I am a Mariah Carey stan. So the chapter opens with the quote: "Some of us need to be rescued, but everyone wants to be seen." Miles Westbrook's presence looms large backstage. Even with a frenzied sea of people separating us, I am keenly aware of him standing in a dark corner, chatting closely with a member of his team. I can't remember ever feeling this affected by a complete stranger before, wary yet intrigued at the same time. Prior to tonight, I had seen the man before in photographs and on TV. Briefly, I revisit Cheryl's ridiculous contributions to the group chat, along with Jamie and Rodney's relentless teasing. It's one thing to make jokes with your friends about getting back in the swing of things, but nothing could quite prepare me for the chemical reactions Miles would draw out of me with just a glance. That's all this is: the body's natural response when presented with a desirable person after its most basic ones have been neglected for far too long. In this case, the person stands a few inches taller than everyone else who is zipping between us and frantically occupied with the business of putting on the show. And considering the fact that almost half of us are tiptoeing around while propped up on what might as well be called stilts, that's saying a lot. The person has a bright white smile that stretches broadly over a strong chin, is framed by achingly full lips, and bracketed by dimples that curve deep within the rich brown complexion of his otherwise angular face. "Miss Simone, if you come with me now, I'll introduce you to Mr. Westbrook," a show producer says with a polite smile that knocks me out of my trance. I smile back and follow after her on stiff legs. Something elemental happens in the room as the distance closes between me and Miles. Like somehow, just by walking 30 feet, I've traversed a continent and entered a new climate. At about the halfway mark, Miles seems to take note of my approach, and when our eyes lock, for the second time tonight, I can only hold the contact for a moment before I glance away to break the tension. In the final seconds before reaching him, I give myself the pep talk of the century. It consists of several get it togethers, a few girl he is just a man's, and a final resounding Elodie Ashley Robinson, your grandmama taught you better than this. So by the time I am squarely in front of him, I've mustered the poise and control to act like the well-adjusted adult I am, but only in the most uncertain terms. "Hi, Miles. It's nice to meet you," I say, extending my hand with a perfectly professional smile. "Ella." He says my name and tapers off, like he meant to follow it up with something and never quite decided on what. But his eyes remain steady on mine, and there's an indecision there, like he's willing them to stay put rather than travel the length of me, like they really want to. I can't shake the dangerous feeling that I want to be looked at by him. Like I want his eyes to drink me in, have their fill, and wordlessly affirm their delight. It's even more maddening that he won't give me the satisfaction of that coveted languid perusal. Despite what the tabloids have said, Miles Westbrook has self-control, and everything in me wants to test it.
All right, Miles Westbrook.
I forgot to set that up. So Ella is an R&B pop star. Miles is a pitcher for the Dodgers. They're backstage at the Grammys because they're about to present an award together. They don't know that the winner of this award is Ella's soon-to-be ex-husband. So, like, it's about to hit the fan. But all of this chemistry is popping off backstage and the first time that they're meeting. So
Yeah. I love that. And I don't know how you didn't even know you had this like creative bone in your body because you really you really kind of transported us to exactly what was happening at the time, and that's a gift, right? And so you
I
might
think
have to teach a class. You might have to teach a class in
thank you. You
chemistry.
mentioned it like in your intro when you talked about like cinematic. And I think part of it comes from just being such a lover of cinema, and even television, like moments, and sort of creating atmosphere and sort of feeling transported in sort of iconic moments on screen my whole life. And so I feel like when I write, that's kind of what I'm trying to emulate, is those cinematic moments, where you can like feel it and you get the tingles and you can imagine what it smells like and the sounds and everything. So I'm trying to create that image on the page with words.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've done an amazing, amazing job of it. If you have a question for Maya, please post it in the chat, and we'll be sure that she has the opportunity to respond to them before we end our time together today. So, we talked about representation, right? And so, as a Black woman writing romance, what does it mean to create stories where Black characters are allowed tenderness, are allowed
Yeah.
softness, nuance, and emotional freedom?
Yeah. I think this is a great question. I think that, and that's one of the like themes of this second book, is that Ella, the main character, is looking, she's sort of um like hungry for this soft place to land, because, and even Kalia in the first book, and I think Black women and, Black people, we kind of develop these exteriors that have to take a lot of oncoming, even from the time that we're children. We're kind of adultified as children by the world, and so we take on these harsh or harder exteriors as like a means of like defense or protection, and in our romantic relationships, in our friendships, in our family relationships, those should be places where we can kind of disarm and like let those guards down. And I think romance is a medium in which we can like practice that and show what it looks like to be soft. I remember in my like 9 to 5 working life, I used to be told all the time, my coworkers, "Oh, you handle that with so much grace," or, "You just handle this so well." And that sounds like a compliment, but what it really is, or like, you're so strong. And I actually opened the book with a quote from Tina Turner, that says, "I don't necessarily want to be a strong person. I just keep going." And so being strong means that like you've had to handle a lot of really hard things. You've had to handle a lot of really heavy things. So it's not necessarily always a compliment to have to be strong, to have to be tough, to have to be like, we need spaces and places where we can be soft. And that's what romance should be. And if you have to be always fighting and on the defense, especially in a romantic relationship, which is the relationship that Ella is getting out of at the start of the book, then that's when it's time to sort of reevaluate and head for the exit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to kind of let's use our imaginations a little bit because I want you. You've written all these characters.
Yeah.
I want you to step inside your own stories,
Okay.
right? So if you could be one of the characters in your story for a single day, which character would you be, or which scene would you want to visit, and why?
I in no ordinary Did I freeze for a second?
Yep, I was just about to say you froze. Go ahead, say it again, because I want
Am
to
I
hear this.
okay? Am I back? Okay, so I was going to say, in No Ordinary Love, I wrote a kick-ass divorce attorney, and she is this Mexican American, um, like no holds barred, like her fashion is pristine. She her nickname is the Ice Queen, not only because she like is iced out, but she like protects the ice of her like high value clients. And she also has this like harsh exterior, but she becomes this sort of like, I don't want to say fairy godmother, but she helps shepherd Ella through this process. And it's her mission in life to help particularly women in these instances of divorce who maybe have been exploited by predatory prenuptial agreements, or, and she says like people don't expect us to have the resources or the know-how to navigate the legal systems, because when Ella is getting divorced, she is being threatened by her ex because he's the producer on all of her records. She's being threatened that you're not going to be able to perform this music anymore. You're not going to have your masters. You're not going to have the rights to XYZ. And so Janet is her lawyer, her attorney. And I love the character. I love the scenes that she has with Ella. And I would love to be her. Not in real life, because I don't think being an attorney would suit me and my temperament, but I feel like it would be fun to just like for a day kind of walk into that office and like, you know, make some phone calls and scare some people who deserve to be scared.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Hey, Dr. Chella Belcher is on. I see a question. I'm going to make sure that Myah has an opportunity to respond to it. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a sip of her water, do some housekeeping, and we will be right back with more conversation with the amazing Myah Ariel. So I want to say thank you again for joining us. Going to give you the opportunity to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Inspire with Sue W. If you desire to follow me personally, I am Sue A. Webley everywhere. You cannot miss me. Thank you again to all of those who have been following me on Cara Solutions LLC. We are building up the Inspire with Sue W platform, and we invite you to follow us there. You could also head over to our website at www.getinspire.live. There you can find out more about the show. You can view all of our previous episodes, and you can subscribe to our newsletter because we don't want you to miss a thing that's happening with Inspire. If you or someone you know is on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same, we want to hear from you. Guess what? I want to hang out with you on the Saturday morning in this amazing virtual space. Join us in conversation on the future episode. You can book your appearance right on our website. So if you head over to our website again, www.getinspire.live, hit the Be Our Guest tab. You can fill out that intake, and a member of our team will contact you to get you set up. Listen, we are accepting bookings for January. We're already kind of filling up in January and February. So please do us a favor, head over to the website. We want to hear from you. Book your appearance today on Inspire. Talking about Cara Solutions, helping you navigate the digital space with confidence. We are a full-service digital agency specializing in helping our clients achieve their goals through consultation and training, content, social media management, graphic and web design, and live stream production. If you would like to learn more, you can schedule a consultation by visiting our website at www.cara-solutions.com or shoot us an email at info@cara-solutions.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And lastly, we're going to do this every single Saturday that we are live until our sibling and community gets the kidney that she needs. Yanni is in search of a potential donor who are fairly healthy, have the blood types A or O, the courage to commit to surgery and to help save her life. She'd love to share the safety measures with you. If you know of a resource or organization, somewhere that she can get connected to help her, please let us know on Inspire. We could get that information to her. Or if you want to contact her and her family directly, you can do so at peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. That's peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. Or you can head over to emerylivingdonor.org, fill out the survey, and enter her name, Ayana Davis. All right, that's it for our announcements. We are going to get back to some more conversation with Myah Ariel. Welcome back, Myah. Thank you again for joining us today. I loved how you put yourself in that scene in that last question because I can see you kind of being a little, a little ice queen for a day. I can see that. I can see. So let's talk about so we talked about a scene that or character that you would want to be for a day, but is there a scene that kind of healed you? So there of course rising anxiety and emotional exhaustion worldwide, right? And
Yeah.
so is there a particular scene that you've written in either one of your books that healed you while writing it?
Um okay, there is a scene. So I think I I experience the healing first, and then I take that and put it in the scene.
Mhm.
So there is a scene between Ella and her mother in this book, No Ordinary Love. Ella has a very complicated relationship with her mother. There's actually a lot of like resentment and jealousy in that relationship from Ella's mother toward Ella.
Mhm.
And it's manifest in I mean, in the book, the device I use are emails from her mother throughout this whole, like, as Ella's divorce is playing out in the press, she's getting emails from her mom where her mom is saying, like, why are you leaving this man who, like, discovered you? You know, this looks bad for, just basically like just be a good wife essentially. And Ella comes from this upper middle class family that grew up in the Black Beverly Hills of View Park in LA, and she was they're members of Boulé, and she did Jack and Jill and like all that kind of stuff, but she wanted to go be an artist. She didn't want to go to school and get an accounting degree and then that sort of thing. And so at that point she sort of gets shunned. So that's just kind of like the context here. And so they have this conversation where Ella essentially kind of goes no contact with her mom. But towards the end of the book, where Ella is finally stepping into her power, her mom invites her to lunch, and her mom is now I don't want to give things away. So I'm not going to say what's going on, but her mom is in a very vulnerable place. And so her mom is kind of feeling like extending an olive branch, but she kind of tells on herself and finally confesses, like, Ella, everything has come easy for you in your life. I've had to fight for X, Y, and Z, and things have just happened for you easily. And Ella says to her mom, you're the parent. You should want things to be easier for me. Then you should not want you shouldn't want to see me struggle as the child. And that as a parent, that is what. And so that sort of concept for me, like, a parent should not want to see the child struggle. A parent's goal in life should be, I want my child's life to be better than mine, and should not resent the child and first of all, things have not come easily for Ella, but just that mindset is warped and that's toxic. And so to have that moment where Ella could voice that to her mom, that you're not speaking to me as a parent right now. You're not mothering me right now. I think that was like a very healing interaction for me to craft for this book. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so, as I'm listening to that, I can imagine that so many of your readers would be kind of going through a similar situation, right? And
Yeah.
um, so when you kind of include that healing aspect in your book, it also extends to the people who are reading it, right?
Yeah.
And again, going back to that representation, you can also see your, like, that's my story, that's
Yeah.
my story, it's
Right.
speaking to me right
Right.
now. And if healing happened there, then maybe there's some hope for me that
Yeah.
that healing will happen in real life. So we're so grateful that you include those types of stories in your book. So I want to talk a little bit about um, harmonizing. all the parts of your life. So, you're a medical mom,
Yeah.
you're a creator, you're of course a dreamer. Like, how do you harmonize
Yeah.
those real life demands with writing stories that are full of tenderness and possibility?
Yeah. I mean, it was a challenge at first because I started writing as a let's just see if this is something that can stick. Let's see if I can write a book. So I was working full time. I was a mom. At that time, I was a wife. I've since, I'm now a divorcee, which a friend of mine told me yesterday that the word divorcee is very classy and chic, and I'm going to claim that. Um,
It's gonna be the
but
next book, yeah. No, go ahead.
exactly the next book. Yeah. So I was kind of balancing all these things. And so I was staying up late writing through the night. I wrote a lot of my first book like on my phone because it was just sort of like when the inspiration hits, like grab the closest thing. So it would be like waking up in the middle of the night and I dreamed an idea for a scene and I was like in my phone. And then I would later transfer it to my computer. So anyways, the balancing, I feel like the first book happened in a fever dream. I don't know how it happened. Because that was the pandemic. I was working from home, but I was still working. I was still logging on to not WebEx, but like Microsoft Teams or whatnot. Then going back into the office. And by that point, I'd had the book deal. And then you have deadlines. And you have an editor that's sort of like requiring things of you. And that became even more overwhelming. And so fortunately, there became the time when I was able to step away from that daytime job and do this. Like primarily, this is what I do now is write. And it actually became the best thing for my life because having a son with medical complexity and special needs, it allows me to be more present. He gets out of school at 2:25. I can be there to pick him up. He has appointments. I can be at those appointments, like the therapy is and the doctor's appointments. He has music lessons now, and I can kind of sort of put my writing blocks around like being a mom. And so the balance is just there more now than it was before. And it's so sweet. I mean, he's 5 now, but he knows like mommy's book, that's mommy's book. Like he knows that mommy writes books. And these are not like, these aren't books for him to read, but he definitely understands that like mommy writes books. And he always like, he'll pick up my books and pretend like he's reading them. And so, and he honestly, I would say he is the inspiration for why I wanted to write, because the first book that I ever attempted to write was a picture book. Even before I started writing novels, the first book I attempted to write was a picture book for him. And so I truly like consider him my inspiration.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. We always kind of end out in a question about joy. And so
Okay.
I want to, because we lead into joy here and inspire, but I do want to make sure that we get this question in. This is from Dr. Chella Belcher. She says, what training, let's see, what non-traditional training did you need to write fiction, and how did you overcome any internal or external doubts or external criticisms to you being a writer? Thank you for that question, Dr. Chella.
I don't have an MFA. I did not do creative writing, which is one of my biggest insecurities when I started this was I have a degree in writing, journalism, which is essentially like writing, different modes of writing. But I'd never written dialogue. I've never crafted characters. I've never done story structure. So non-traditional training would be that I, through a friend of a friend, was introduced to a writing instructor who at the time during the pandemic was doing a Zoom-based writers group for specifically women who were BIPOC, neurodiverse, or queer. And it was this group, and I thank them all in the acknowledgments of my first book, because there were like 5 of us who were all attempting to write romance for the first time. And we were all at like varying stages of our first manuscript. And so every week we would meet, we would exchange chapters, and we would meet and we would read each other's chapters. We would critique, give each other pointers. And Jeannie, who was like the head of this writers group, would kind of talk to us about story structure and story beats. And that was kind of the only sort of training, I would say. I did this for maybe like 5 or so months that I got. But I will say that there are craft books. Save the Cat Writes a Novel is a craft book that I swear by. And also, having studied film and loved film for so long, a lot of the story structure is very similar. And so a lot of it came natural to me. Like about 25% into a story, something needs to happen that sort of flips things on its head. At the midway point, we got to keep the pacing moving. So we need to feel like we've made some progress, or, those sorts of things. And so I would say that those sort of like mechanics, I don't think you need to take I'm not saying don't go to school for this. Absolutely. If you want to study literature and writing, but I don't think that you have to. I don't think that this writing and publishing should be gate kept like that. It's definitely something that you can pick up the tools and craft on your own. So, yeah. And how did I overcome I think the doubts are always going to be there, but what helps me overcome them is when somebody reads and tells me, like, I can't get these characters out of my head, or this book inspired me, or I saw myself in the pages or in that character. That's when it's like, okay, I think I'm onto something. I think, I'm doing something right here. So.
Yes, thank you for responding to Dr. Tella's question. I hope that that was the response that you needed. And I'm sure somebody else that's watching needed that response too. Needed to hear that as well. So thank you again, Myah. So as we get ready to wrap up with Joy, and you tell us a little bit about the book that's coming out in 2026. So we lean into Joy a lot on Aspire, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. We look at joy as resistance, right? And so what is bringing you joy right now in your life?
Every time my son hits a new milestone, I find joy. Every time so my son's name is Henry, and when he was in the pediatric ICU, the nurses called him Happy Henry. And this is like when he was just a few months old. And so he is just a child who exudes joy and happiness. Like, even when he's being quote unquote bad, he is like gleeful about it. He is like gleeful, even in his defiance, he is gleeful about it. And so I just find joy in seeing him every day sort of like overcome the odds of his circumstances. It's like just the gift of being his mother. And what I talked about before, like that healing moment between Ella and her mom, I think I came to that as a mom myself, and experiencing what it's like to have that love for someone else, and sort of what I see and what I want for him. And so I would say that is where I find so much joy, but also just joy in every day, just being grateful to wake up and that I get to do something that is a passion after like years of struggling through corporate, academia, entertainment, and just feeling like I'm not enough. Now I get to do something that is creative and inspiring and like feeds my soul. And so that I feel like I froze a little bit, but hopefully something got through there.
It was right. It was right at the end. Oh my goodness! Thank you so much for joining us today, Myah. It's been such a joy to have you here on the fire. Tell us a little bit about that book you have coming out. How can we support you?
Yes. So my next book comes out June 30th. It is called You Jump First. I don't have a copy of it yet because it's not even printed yet. So I can't hold it up for you. But it is my first YA romance novel. So young adult romance for little bit younger characters. They are high school age, but I got really inspired watching Forever on Netflix. I don't know if you guys saw that series, Mara Brockett-Kill's adaptation of Forever, but these are, it's a multicultural group of friends from Southern California who go to Big Bear Lake in the summertime, and it's a rom-com because they're two heartbroken teens who sort of make a pact to get through the summer together because everybody else is coupled up and they're kind of like the lone wolves, and naturally they start to connect with each other and see that maybe there's something there that wasn't there before. And it's just like big feelings and fireworks and fireflies and summer at the lake vibes. And I I loved writing for younger characters because love is just such a, a magical feeling at that age. And I love writing a rom-com where like comedy is kind of a little bit more centered in each scene. So yeah, I'm excited about this book. I'm excited about writing in the YA space. So I'll definitely have more adult romance coming, but this is a new exciting challenge for me.
Listen, truth be told, the adults read the young adult
Oh yeah.
fiction too. So, yeah. We are looking forward to that. And you know what? I was getting ready to close, but I see Ray Charles back in the background.
Oh
Do you see
yes, yes. So I have my
what's up
grand.
with Ray Charles in the background
Yeah,
there?
so there's Ray Charles, there's Beyonce, there's also there's Billie Holiday back there, Mariah
Mm.
Carey. I have my grandfather's record collection.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so I have Sarah Vaughan, I have Miles Davis. I mean, I just, yeah. So and there's my record player right here. So I love music.
Thank you for sharing yourself. Thank you for sharing your books. Thank you for sharing, the ground dad's collection in
Yeah.
the back. We are just so overjoyed that you have hung out with us this morning. Well, morning for you. Yeah, it's still morning here. It's still morning here as well. But we so appreciate Maya, your imagination and your tenderness and. Your emotional honesty that you bring to the world through your storytelling. And I mentioned earlier about this things that are happening in the world, right? It's kind of heavy. It's kind of heavy right now. And so your work reminds us that joy is still, listen, still the order of the day. That
Yes.
love is still possible, and you talked about soft places to land. You reminded us today that softness is not a weakness,
Yes.
right? That we
Yes.
all deserve, we all need and deserve soft places to land. Family, if you're watching right now, if you're going to catch us in the replay, please support this incredible novelist. I invite you to buy her books. When that next one comes out, pre-order it. Make sure you head over to her website at myahariel.com, myahariel.com. Go ahead, check out her website. You can find her on social media at Myah Ariel Writes, right? Is that
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So please follow her on social media. Share her work, right? And pour back into her gift when that next book comes out. And you know how we end as always. I want you to keep something in your cup. Keep joy in your spirit. I want you to stay lifted. I want you to stay motivated, but most of all, I want you to stay inspired. We look forward to seeing you next year. We're on break. So we're going to see you in January. So happy holidays to all of you. Happy New Year. And we will see you in 2026. Bye, y'all. Thanks, Maya.
Thank you.